It was a quiet afternoon when I was in the middle of something I never thought I'd find myself doing. My partner and I had been distant for a while, fighting more than usual, barely touching, and when we did, it was mechanical. I was looking for something to fill the growing emptiness I felt in the relationship. So, when my old friend, who I had once had a complicated past with, reached out, I didn't resist. We met up a few times under the pretext of catching up, but what started as innocent chats turned into something else. The intimacy we once shared seemed to reignite, like a spark that had been buried for years. There were moments when I convinced myself it was just an escape, nothing serious. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just physical, it was emotional. One day, as we were sitting in the living room, my nephew, a 15-year-old with the curiosity of a teenager, unexpectedly barged in. He had a knack for showing up at the worst possible times. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as my secret unfolded in front of him. He stood there, eyes wide with confusion. I could see the discomfort in his expression as he tried to piece together what he had just walked in on. His gaze flicked from me to my partner's old friend, who was now visibly tense. My first thought was to lie, to explain it away, but I saw the hurt in his eyes. His silence was louder than any words could have been. This moment marked a pivotal turning point. My nephew didn't say anything, but the weight of his presence felt like 1,000 accusations. I knew he'd sensed that something was wrong, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized the damage was done. Not only had I betrayed my partner, but I had also allowed a third party to affect our family dynamics. The emotional guilt was overwhelming. As much as I had convinced myself it was only a temporary escape, the feelings of betrayal were undeniable. My nephew, no longer just a curious kid, had seen something that could alter how he viewed family forever. The aftermath was a whirlwind of emotions: guilt, shame, confusion, and an unspoken tension between my partner and me. My nephew, who had been a quiet witness, never brought it up, but it was clear that nothing would be the same again. In the end, I realized that infidelity wasn't just about physical acts. It was about the emotional divide it created, the secrets that shattered the trust built over time, and the irreversible impact it had on everyone involved. The complexity of those emotions, the struggle with guilt, and the unavoidable consequences of keeping such a heavy secret were far harder to bear than the fleeting moments of escape. The sudden intrusion of a family member, particularly one with an unintentional yet devastating timing, can serve as the pivotal moment that exposes secrets hidden within relationships. Infidelity often begins in secrecy, behind closed doors, where the individuals involved convince themselves that they're in control of the situation, that they can compartmentalize their actions from their reality. But the moment an unexpected visitor enters that space unplanned, uninvited, the veil of secrecy shatters. That moment of exposure can be jarring and irreversible. The dynamics between the people involved change instantly. There is no escaping the fact that someone, often a loved one, has been thrust into the uncomfortable position of having to process what they've just witnessed or, at the very least, what they've inadvertently stumbled upon. For those caught in such a scenario, there's no way to prepare for that moment. Infidelity, whether emotional or physical, is already built upon layers of self-deception and rationalization. The individuals involved are often justifying their actions to themselves, convincing themselves that they're not really betraying anyone, that it's just a momentary lapse, or that their relationship was already damaged beyond repair. However, when that sudden, unexpected discovery happens, whether it's a partner walking in on an affair or a child unknowingly witnessing an illicit moment, the person caught feels vulnerable, exposed, and powerless to control the unfolding situation. The emotional gravity of such a discovery is immense. The person who is caught in the act often doesn't have the luxury of time to explain, defend, or justify their actions. The immediate confrontation with their hidden truth forces them to face the reality of their betrayal without the comfort of preparation or rationalization. They are stripped of their excuses, and all that remains is the raw emotion of the moment: the guilt, the shame, and the fear of what comes next. It's no longer a secret shared between two people, it's a reality that others must now deal with, whether they are willing or not. What makes the discovery even more complicated is the emotional aftermath. For example, the person who inadvertently discovers the affair, whether it's a spouse, child, or family member often experiences a wave of conflicting emotions. They may initially feel confusion or disbelief, not quite understanding what they've walked into. The disbelief is often followed by feelings of betrayal, not just because of the action they've witnessed, but because they feel an emotional distance or disconnect that was previously invisible. The emotional attachment that they had to the people involved suddenly feels fragile and untrustworthy. There's a deep sense of hurt that comes from realizing that someone they love and trust has been hiding this aspect of their life. On the other hand, the person who has been keeping the secret might feel an intense rush of panic or fear, wondering how to salvage the situation, or whether there is even a way to repair the damage. They might feel overwhelmed by the sudden exposure of their emotional or physical infidelity, unsure of how to navigate the awkward tension that follows. The discovery brings with it a sense of finality, as if there is no turning back from the moment of truth. It's no longer a question of if anyone will find out, it's a question of how this revelation will affect their relationships moving forward. This unexpected discovery can also bring into sharp focus the cracks in a relationship that had previously been ignored or downplayed. It serves as a stark reminder of the emotional disconnect that often lies just beneath the surface of a romantic partnership. In many cases, infidelity doesn't happen in isolation, it's often a symptom of deeper emotional issues, unmet needs, or unresolved conflicts. The discovery of infidelity can be a wake-up call, a moment when everyone involved must face the uncomfortable reality of what their relationship has become and how it has been shaped by the choices they've made. The people involved are no longer just dealing with the act itself, they are now forced to confront the complicated emotions, challenges, and regrets that have been simmering beneath the surface for far longer than they might have realized. In essence, the unexpected discovery of infidelity disrupts everything. It is a moment of crisis, where emotions run high, and the carefully constructed walls around the affair come crashing down. The resulting emotional chaos challenges the way people see themselves and each other, often leading to a period of intense reflection and re-evaluation. What was once hidden is now exposed, and everyone involved must come to terms with the truth, however painful it may be. Infidelity does not simply involve a betrayal of trust, it is often a manifestation of deeper emotional needs, unmet desires, and unspoken conflicts that have been building over time. The emotional attachment between partners can be both a source of comfort and a source of profound pain. In many relationships, there are layers of connection that hold the couple together: shared history, mutual respect, affection, and the security of knowing that someone has your back, through both good and bad times. However, when one partner starts to seek emotional or physical fulfillment outside of that relationship, it signals a shift in that attachment. The conflict that arises from this change is not merely about the act of infidelity itself, but about the emotional dissonance that arises between what one partner feels and what they are doing. Emotional attachment is one of the most powerful forces in human relationships. It binds people together through love, trust, and intimacy, and when that attachment starts to fray, it can lead to feelings of loneliness, alienation, and vulnerability. For the partner who feels neglected or disconnected, the emotional attachment that once felt solid and dependable can start to feel fragile and precarious. The sense of being emotionally distant from their significant other can be incredibly isolating, even if they are physically present. Over time, this disconnection can breed resentment, frustration, and a yearning for the kind of emotional intimacy that once seemed effortless. The desire for that emotional fulfillment can often lead one partner to seek solace outside the relationship, not because they want to hurt the other person but because they feel that something vital is missing in their connection. However, seeking emotional fulfillment from someone outside the partnership creates an internal conflict. The person engaging in the affair may find themselves torn between their existing relationship and the new connection they are forming. On one hand, there is the familiarity, safety, and commitment of the established relationship. On the other hand, there is the excitement and novelty of the affair. The emotional attachment to the original partner is not easily dismissed, but the emotional connection with the new person can feel equally powerful, even if it is not built on the same foundation of years together. The individual may experience a deep sense of guilt for what they are doing, even while still emotionally attached to their partner. This internal turmoil is a significant source of stress in infidelity, as the person struggles to reconcile their actions with their feelings. For the partner who is left behind and unaware of the infidelity, the the emotional conflict is no less intense. The discovery that their partner has sought emotional fulfillment elsewhere is often a devastating blow. It is not just the betrayal of physical intimacy that hurts, it is the fact that their partner's emotional needs were not met within the confines of their relationship. The sense of rejection is profound. The betrayed partner often questions what went wrong, wondering why their emotional bond wasn't enough to keep the other person faithful. Feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt can take root, and the person may begin to wonder whether they were ever truly loved or valued in the way they thought they were. The emotional attachment that they believed to be strong suddenly feels fragile, leaving them grappling with a sense of loss and betrayal. At the heart of this emotional conflict is the struggle between love and hurt. The partner who feels emotionally neglected might still love the person they are with, but their actions are driven by a desire for something more, something they feel is missing from the relationship. This desire can lead to an affair, which, in turn, complicates the emotions even further. The person who is having the affair may feel guilty for betraying their partner but simultaneously feel validated and understood by the person they are emotionally connecting with outside the relationship. The intense pull of this new emotional bond can cloud judgment and create even more confusion, as the individual oscillates between feelings of guilt and the excitement of the new connection. For the betrayed partner, the discovery of infidelity is not just a question of trust, it is a crisis of identity. Their emotional attachment to their partner may have been based on shared memories, plans, and promises, and the realization that their partner has sought fulfillment elsewhere can leave them questioning the authenticity of their entire relationship. The emotional conflict is intensified by the fact that, in many cases, the betrayed partner might still love their partner, even after the discovery of the affair. This love can create a profound sense of inner turmoil, as they weigh the pain of betrayal against their desire to preserve the relationship. The emotional attachment to their partner is not easily severed, and the conflict between love and hurt can make the decision to stay or leave agonizing. The impact of this emotional conflict extends beyond the couple involved. In relationships where children or extended family are present, the emotional turbulence of infidelity can ripple out, affecting everyone around them. Children may sense the tension, even if they are not directly aware of the details of the affair, and family dynamics can shift as relationships are redefined in the wake of emotional betrayal. The ripple effect of the emotional conflict caused by infidelity can reshape entire family structures, making it difficult for individuals to process their emotions and move forward in a healthy way. Ultimately, the emotional attachment that once seemed so strong becomes a source of deep conflict when infidelity enters the picture. The feelings of love, hurt, guilt, and confusion intertwine, leaving everyone involved to grapple with the complexity of their emotions and the difficult choices that lie ahead. Infidelity is never a simple matter of physical betrayal, it carries with it a profound weight of moral dilemmas and guilt that often lead to deep emotional turmoil. The people involved in infidelity are typically caught in a conflict between their desires, their conscience, and the moral frameworks they have internalized over their lifetimes. When someone steps outside the boundaries of their committed relationship, they often wrestle with the tension between what they want and what they know is ethically right. This moral conflict is not just about the violation of an agreement but about the deeper issues of self-respect, integrity, and responsibility to others. For the person engaging in the affair, the dilemma begins long before the actual act of infidelity occurs. The initial steps into disloyalty are often taken with a series of justifications. Perhaps their partner is no longer attentive, maybe there's emotional distance, or they might feel neglected or unloved. These rationalizations, however, do not negate the core understanding that what they are doing is wrong according to their personal values and the ethical standards of their relationship. Even if they convince themselves that it is justified or that their relationship is already broken, a nagging sense of guilt often follows. This guilt can be debilitating, undermining the person's sense of self-worth and leading to a complicated inner narrative. They may feel as though they are living a double life, on one hand, trying to maintain the appearance of loyalty, and on the other hand, struggling with the dissonance of their actions. The guilty conscience in these situations is not just about betraying the trust of a partner, it also often involves the fear of being judged by others. Infidelity carries societal stigma, and the individual may feel the weight of that judgment. This societal pressure can amplify the sense of shame, as the person realizes that their actions not only hurt the person they love but also risk damaging their reputation and the image of the relationship they've worked so hard to build. In many cases, the guilty party tries to keep the affair secret, not just out of fear of confrontation but because they know they have crossed a moral boundary that society typically does not forgive easily. However, the guilt does not reside solely in the person committing the infidelity. For the partner who is betrayed, the moral dilemma often becomes one of whether to confront the situation or whether to try to preserve the relationship, despite the pain. The person who is betrayed is often left feeling conflicted between their love for their partner and the hurt of the betrayal. They may ask themselves difficult questions. Do I have the right to forgive? Do I allow myself to stay in a relationship where trust has been broken? How do I move forward when the moral foundation of my relationship has been shaken? This internal struggle can cause intense emotional confusion. The betrayed partner may feel torn between wanting to maintain their integrity and their commitment to the relationship while also battling with the pain and shame of being deceived. The act of infidelity leaves them questioning their own values and sense of self-worth. Are they somehow responsible for what has happened, especially if the relationship had its own flaws or emotional distance? The moral dilemma grows even more complicated when there are other factors at play, such as children or a shared life built over many years. The person who discovers the affair may feel morally compelled to protect their family, even at the cost of their own happiness. They may feel an overwhelming sense of duty to their children or to their mutual responsibilities, making the decision to confront the infidelity even more difficult. The betrayal becomes a public matter, not just a private one, and it forces the individual to consider the long-term consequences of their partner's actions. Will exposing the affair cause irreparable harm to the family? Is it more moral to leave the relationship, or is it better to try to salvage what remains? These questions force the betrayed partner to reflect not just on their own emotions but on the larger ethical implications of their decisions. Another aspect of the moral dilemma is the idea of forgiveness. The person who has been wronged may struggle with whether or not they can or should forgive their partner. Forgiveness, in this context, is not just an emotional act, it is a moral choice. Can they move beyond the betrayal and rebuild trust, or will the act of infidelity forever change the way they view their partner and the relationship? The individual may feel torn between wanting to restore their family or their relationship and feeling the overwhelming weight of betrayal that seems impossible to overcome. The forgiveness process, if it happens, is a difficult and personal decision that forces the person to examine their values, their attachment to their partner, and their capacity to heal from the wounds inflicted. Furthermore, the person who has been unfaithful may also find themselves grappling with the desire for redemption. After the affair is discovered, they may feel a desperate need to make amends, to explain themselves, or to find ways to fix the damage they've caused. This desire to reconcile can sometimes be driven by guilt more than genuine remorse for the hurt inflicted on the other person. The act of apologizing and attempting to repair the relationship can be part of a larger moral struggle to restore some semblance of integrity to their actions. However, for the betrayed partner, this request for redemption can feel hollow, and the sincerity of the apology is often questioned. The betrayed partner might wonder whether the apologies are truly about the person seeking forgiveness or about alleviating their own guilt. In the end, infidelity leads both parties to face profound moral dilemmas, whether it's the guilt of betrayal or the emotional toll of deciding how to move forward. The complexity of these moral struggles is often what makes the emotional fallout of infidelity so lasting. The individuals involved are forced to confront their own values, their capacity for forgiveness, and the painful reality of living with the consequences of their actions. The discovery of infidelity often marks the beginning of a profound transformation in relationships, shaking the very foundation upon which they were built. This revelation, whether it happens through an unexpected confrontation, a slip-up, or a forced confession, forces all parties involved to face the harsh reality of the situation. The moment the truth comes to light, it is as if the world shifts, and everything that was once hidden in the shadows is suddenly exposed. The emotional shockwaves that follow can ripple through relationships, causing an irreversible shift in the dynamics between the people involved. What was once a private affair, tucked away in secrecy, is now out in the open, and the consequences are far-reaching. For the person who has committed the infidelity, the the moment of revelation is often accompanied by a surge of panic, guilt, and shame. They are no longer in control of the situation, they cannot deny or cover up their actions any longer. The truth, no matter how painful, has surfaced, and there is no going back. The immediate emotional consequence is overwhelming. The person who has been unfaithful must now face the full scope of their actions, the hurt they have caused, and the damage they have done to the trust that their partner had placed in them. This revelation often leads to an internal struggle as the individual grapples with the reality of their behavior and its emotional impact. The guilt of having betrayed someone they love can be suffocating, as they are forced to confront the emotional wreckage they have left behind. At the same time, the betrayed partner is plunged into a sea of conflicting emotions. Initially, there may be disbelief, as they struggle to process what they've just learned. The shock of the revelation can make it feel as though time has stopped, and it becomes difficult to make sense of the situation. Questions flood their mind. How could this happen? Why didn't I see the signs? What does this mean for our relationship? Their sense of reality is shattered, and the foundation of trust that they once had in their partner is upended. The discovery of infidelity forces the betrayed partner to reckon with the painful truth that their emotional investment, their love, and their trust have been taken for granted. The betrayal is not just about the physical act but about the violation of the emotional connection they believed to be inviolable. The revelation of infidelity also leads to a profound sense of loss. The betrayed partner mourns not only the breach of trust but also the future they had envisioned with their partner. Their hopes, dreams, and plans for a life together are suddenly called into question. The future no longer feels certain, and the individual is forced to grapple with the possibility that their relationship may never be the same again. The loss is not just of the relationship as it once existed, but of the emotional security that comes with knowing someone deeply and trusting them completely. The very act of infidelity has torn down the emotional walls that had once provided safety and stability, leaving the betrayed partner feeling exposed, vulnerable, and uncertain about what lies ahead. For the couple involved, the immediate consequence is often a breakdown in communication. After the truth comes to light, the space between them can feel insurmountable. The person who has been unfaithful may attempt to explain, apologize, or justify their actions, but these words often fall flat. The betrayed partner, consumed by their own emotions, may struggle to process the situation and find it difficult to even engage in a meaningful conversation. The anger, hurt, and confusion that accompany the revelation of infidelity can make productive communication feel almost impossible. Both individuals are often caught in an emotional whirlwind, unable to see beyond their own pain, and the relationship is left teetering on the edge of collapse. The consequences extend beyond the immediate emotional turmoil. Infidelity has long-term ramifications that can shape the future of the relationship, especially when children or other family members are involved. In cases where children are present, the revelation of infidelity can disrupt not only the couple's relationship but also the family dynamic. Children may sense the tension, even if they are unaware of the specifics, and this can have a lasting impact on their sense of security. Family gatherings, shared responsibilities, and everyday interactions can become fraught with discomfort as the emotional consequences of the affair ripple outward, affecting not just the couple but their children, friends, and extended family. The strain of infidelity can create an environment of mistrust and resentment that may persist long after the initial revelation. The consequences are also internal, as both partners face the challenge of navigating the aftermath of the betrayal. The person who has been unfaithful may struggle with their own feelings of guilt, regret, and self-loathing, as they are forced to come to terms with the harm they have caused. They may attempt to rebuild their relationship or seek redemption, but the road to recovery is often long and fraught with setbacks. The betrayed partner, on the other hand, must decide whether they can ever forgive and rebuild the trust that has been shattered. The emotional scars left by the infidelity may linger, making it difficult to move forward without the constant weight of the betrayal hanging over them. The decision to stay or leave the relationship is not an easy one, and the consequences of either choice can be far-reaching. In many cases, the aftermath of infidelity leads to a re-evaluation of the relationship. Both individuals are forced to examine the underlying issues that led to the affair in the first place. The revelation of infidelity often brings to the surface unresolved problems, unmet emotional needs, or patterns of behavior that had been ignored or dismissed. This can be an opportunity for growth and change, but it can also lead to the dissolution of the relationship, as the emotional damage may prove too great to repair. The process of healing, whether through reconciliation or separation, requires both partners to confront their own feelings, examine the causes of their actions, and take responsibility for their role in the breakdown of trust. Ultimately, the revelation of infidelity has far-reaching consequences. It forces all parties involved to confront the emotional wreckage of the situation, and the fallout can shape the future of the relationship, or lead to its end. The emotional toll of the discovery is undeniable, and the consequences can affect not just the individuals directly involved but also the people around them. It is a painful process, one that often reshapes relationships and forces everyone involved to confront the reality of their actions and decisions.